There are a number of ways that you can get caught up with marijuana. You're not allowed to consume in your vehicle. Having an open container is also illegal. Impairment. I'd actually probably refrain from even telling a police officer at this point that you have consumed marijuana, just because we know that those tests that they have aren't accurate. And a lot of the times in the Black community, police interaction can cost us our life. It's important that marijuana legalization happens, and happens in a tone of social justice, because now legal amounts of marijuana aren't probable cause. Before, they could just smell marijuana, see marijuana, stop you, ask you a bunch of questions, and then you might have been shit out of luck at that point. That's not the case now. I'm the daughter of a senior master sergeant in the military who married a police officer, so I grew up with a police officer in my home. My mother sent me to private schools up until I was probably in the 4th or 5th grade, and so I just always had a strong educational foundation. And so I started college at 17 and just quickly went through my undergraduate education. I went into undergrad knowing that I wanted to go to law school, and so I did that. Okay, so I was kind of crazy while I was in law school. I did my master's program and my law degree at the same time. So I was taking all of these classes, and I was analyzing public policy, and I was taking this marijuana law and policy class, and I was taking this class that was focused on social movements. And I was having this, inner dialogue with myself, and I was looking at how people like me could have had educational opportunities, but instead they were caught with marijuana and sent to prison. I read Michelle Alexander's The New Jim Crow in that one sentence. Nothing has contributed more to the systematic mass incarceration of people of color in the United States than the war on drugs. And so it was just like I was getting all of these facts at the same time, and I said, you know what? I have to get involved in marijuana policy however I can. When folks have conversations about the war on drugs, it's basically the laws and policies that have been used against communities of color to incarcerate them, and it's largely been about drugs. We know that Black and brown and Latino communities, we all use drugs at the same rate. Black people are only about 12 to 13% of the population. So for us to only be 12 to 13% of the population and to be arrested 4 times more, that is targeted. You have literally put these community members behind bars. You have blocked them from accessing economic opportunity when only about 1% of around 3,700 dispensaries are minority owned. It's really not hard to guess why. When we chose to spend millions and millions of dollars sending people to prison, what we didn't spend millions and millions of dollars for was education or healthcare. These were choices that we as taxpayers made. And so now that marijuana is legal, we have to be very thoughtful about how we use this money, because this plant, not the plant itself, not marijuana itself, but marijuana arrests have harmed communities. And so if we're not starting the conversation there, I don't really even know what we're talking about half the time. Any other time we're talking about drugs, we're able to do so professionally. I remember growing up, I'll turn on the TV and there's a commercial and it'll tell me the name of this drug that I can use, and it'll list 40 different symptoms that I'll have if I use this drug, including death, but call this number fast.
In some cases, extreme high blood sugar can lead to coma or death.
So when we talk about drug use, we have to be talking about, well, who's being stereotyped to use these drugs? Who's being overrepresented in media to use these drugs? Who's being disproportionately sent to prison when they use these drugs? There are thousands of people who have been denied opportunities for education. If you had a marijuana offense on your record, you would lose your opportunity to get a student loan. And now, someone with a license to sell is going to make billions off of that. So we have to have real conversations about how to repair those communities, and there's money in marijuana. So why don't we use the money that we get from selling marijuana and taxing marijuana to go back into those communities? It makes sense to me. The California Bureau of Marijuana Regulation is authorized with establishing all of the rules and regulations for licensing. And there are tons of rules, because in the cannabis industry, you can be a cultivator, you can be a distributor, you can be a manufacturer, you can be a processor, you can have a lab, and all of these different businesses have to be licensed. There's so much going on right now, and if you are a cannabis user, this is a conversation that you need to be engaged in, because these are the laws that are gonna affect you. A lot of people who don't even use cannabis are the ones that are making the laws. We need, cannabis users in the room to help folks make rules and laws about how this is going to affect them, because otherwise we're just going to have the same stigmatized, stereotyped conversations, and that's going to negatively impact the user. And other folks aren't even going to see that it's happening.